Okay, we are live, and the discussion would be around the AI stuff, and particularly from the point of view that the training of the data set itself has to be redone. I'll wait for maybe a couple of minutes before we start. And tomorrow we have this discussion, which is happening under the authority, and I will share the link so that people can log in and particularly look into the aspect of the policy making of how the policy making is being done on a global basis. It is not one authority, but there are multiple brains, the good brains, I would rather say, who are working towards it. And we folks, in whatever capacity, are contributing to make AI safe, because AI ethics is very important. AI is being deployed without even understanding what AI has done. So, first of all, I'll just mute myself. I'll fetch the links and you can look into it, register for the event, and I'm sure it is going to help folks understand globally, and particularly all the patenting firms. So, I'm muting myself. I'll just get the data set first. So, there are a couple of things happening right now. I will first, even getting into this data set, what AI is all about. There are two main bodies under the United Nations. One is WIPO, that is World Intellectual Property Organization, which is headquartered in Geneva. And we're very near to that place is ITU, that is International Telecommunication Union, which is looking into the communication protocols. Communication protocols means, in very simple words, how communication should be done, what should be the parameters, how it can be controlled. And ITU per se, the main, I would say, the framework is to connect the people. Now the thing is, connection is one aspect, because through this portal of World Wide Web, anyone and everyone can just see what is given in a data set. Whether that data set is helpful enough is the question everybody needs to answer before even giving your details. Now I'll give you an example. What I have written here is the new e-Medrit will replace the Medrit portfolio manager in September. Now, what has happened is, first of all, Madrid Protocol is a very recent protocol, and I got to work on a very fascinating case few months back. I mean, it was almost few months back now, and was able to file a trademark application in more than 30 plus countries at one go. The protocol to be understood here is, there are a lot of websites who will try to malign anyone and everyone through their protocols at the back end. Now, I'll give you one example. What is happening with Facebook right now, or what is called as Meta? The two aspects which should be understood from the framework, not from the framework of what Meta has done, or what Meta is doing, or what Meta is capable of. So, we have to break down this phrase, metaverse. So, there's one word, one phrase, which is verse, and the other one is meta. One can go and look into the data set, how the metaverse was introduced and how it is introduced and all that stuff associated with that. But over the years, if I just go through the data set, and people who are in the patenting can only understand, this is not for normal people to understand, because a lot of blockchain data sets are being developed from US itself, or it is being funded by organizations where they're trying to get to a protocol where, as a country, different countries are fighting in the online world. So we have to stop that. The very basic framework of the capitalistic way has always been intellectual property rights, which is a capitalist way of working. Now, in this regard, there were a lot of inquiries when I was traveling to China and other parts of the world. And there was one very fascinating case which came to me, but due to time crunch and everything, I couldn't pursue it. But I did that exercise again recently. Um, and that exercise is very simple. In that particular exercise, it is like, say for example, somebody posted something, you're using Instagram for that matter. Now when you're using Instagram for that matter, you post something and by chance you use a hashtag which is not in sync with the, maybe with the framework of the company, that is Meta at the back end, or with the framework of what they want to push through the online world. Because this was very clear to us as patent attorneys that we should not look into the news, we should not be seeing anything and just concentrate on the IPR aspect. And that is one reason um, we have been focusing on intellectual property rights and human capacity building, and the intersection of WIPO, that is World Intellectual Property Organization, with ITU. I think it's a very good combination in terms of anything and everything, and particularly from the point of view of being a cert, whereby you can look into any data set and you will be able to see what is the malice intent of anything and everything. Now, the point is every profession has a protocol. Now when as a cert, we understand almost every protocol or any protocol which is in the making, because that is how we are trained with our mind. And I have done a lot of cyber patenting work, I think almost now, like I started the cyber work way back. I don't want to get into the that year also. Then again people will start coding on that, because online world mimics offline world, and there's a quantum world also, which is the third way of anything and everything. So what is happening right now, we have a offline world which is like without these devices and all. Second is the online world, this portal through which we are communicating. Third is the quantum life, which is very much real. It's only that it has not achieved the bandwidth of onboarding people, because that onboarding will not happen with normal people who don't understand IPR at the first place. So the point of contention here is human capacity building has to be done for intellectual property rights. Human capacity building is nothing to do with filing a patent application before the Indian Patent Office. If you look at the back end of the Indian Patent Office, I mean, anyone and everyone, they think it is a matter of joy to file a patent application. The answer is big no. Uh, Now, what I want to talk about here is tomorrow is a conference. I just fetching that data set, and tomorrow please attend that, where you will understand. See, there are sustainable development goals, and in that sustainable development goals, plastic pollution is one of the. I already talked about it, that AI has not AI per se, AI is a garbage. I mean, first of all, there's garbage everywhere in the offline world, where you just clean it for the time when some authority is coming, and again garbage, and then it is giving rise to so many bodies, and those water bodies are actually uh, creating medical hazard and so many things. So that control is not happening. What is happening right now as a country in India, there's a lot of emphasis on individuals who are good enough in whatever profession they are, and they are being targeted by different organizations, because this is again a way where things have been happening in India after independence. So it's not that they are catering to one way of working, because the whole ideation of blockchain was to take out the mediators from the whole equation. Mediators are nobody, but they are only folks who are there to create fear. They create fear to the point where the other party thinks that they're doing something wrong. So that is the line of difference between a sound mind and an unsound mind. So the part of the, now again, we are talking about the white web right now, because this data would be utilized in many ways. So we have to concentrate on the white web part. Now, when we are concentrating on the web, white, white web, so that is basically that canvas which is actually creating the framework for the people to connect, and then they have to get into the steps whereby, I'll give you one example. If you're using the search engine Google at any given point of time, you will see few folks are getting this again and again, where you have to solve a puzzle. There are a lot of puzzles which are being done by Perplexity, this, that, and everything. So everything and anything, on chain, off chain, nothing else, these are just some kind of web domains whereby something is deployed in terms of the languages XYZ. It's not one language, there's something called as proprietary, but there's nothing proprietary when you understand the way it is being worked upon, because that is being copied in one of the patent application. Somebody is retrieving patent from 18th century, and somebody is retrieving patent from 1950s, and they're just collaborating it and trying to create an algorithm saying that is proprietary. So what government of India needs to do is, first of all, if somebody, I mean, if anybody is coming on stage and saying that it is proprietary or it is a open source model, when it is proprietary, everybody has to take an oath. Everybody has to take an oath, and oath commission doesn't need to sign, because when you're taking an oath or you're writing an affidavit, it is basically you are synchronizing your thought process and saying, hey, what I have written is truth. Because the whole ideation of blockchain is not connecting one thief with the another thief. A thief will always remain a thief. So that has to be negated, and that we already talked about earlier also. So there are three ways people work, or the mind work, is a good actor, bad actor, neutral actor. So the bad actors have to be identified first, and the bad actor has to go through the process of different human capacity building to be a good actor. And once that is achieved, then so much can be achieved in this world to make this world a better place. This is one aspect. Another aspect is, as far as Meta is concerned, then I have to just touch base on the other aspect of this conference, which is happening online tomorrow. Please register for that. um, Now this guy has is being questioned. Everybody knows that the data was sold off, not only the Indian data but data globally. And that itself, I mean, I don't know, on my Facebook, I think there are 900 plus people who are connected to me. They seem to be patent attorneys, but if you ask me, not like, less than 50 people I have met in person, maybe just 30 or 40 people I know the way I know. So the point here is this advertisement model, because end of the day these companies have to earn. They were banking on this year 2025. A lot of companies were actually banking on the year 2025 to achieve the 2030 goals. But you see what has happened with Facebook. I mean, he is going haywire in terms of his thought process, because uh, so much data, once it is given to the folks, it can be misused the way they like, because they can always manipulate and say, hey, this profile having or bearing this ID is going to behave like this in this kind of scenario. Now the thing is, the way I started working, when I came to know, like, Facebook came into existence, I actually met, in other way around, the people in Singapore, because the other guy who had a fight with the Facebook guy actually settled in Singapore, and happened to meet his colleagues and everyone over the years, just to understand what is happening. Now the thing is, it's very very clear that if we understand the internet the way it has to be understood, no one currency can overcome the other currency, because the online world is a blank canvas. If we understand and appreciate this concept, it's not a concept, it's a reality. uh, Stable coins itself is like, stable coins is nothing but what is the price of US dollar at any given point of time in one of the scenarios. That's how it is done. But if we just go back to the historical data set of India at the time when independence happened in India, the the pricing of these whatever currencies were almost similar. It is just that under some regime, some money was taken as a loan. When you take a loan and you're not able to repay back, that is when the demise starts happening for the countries. And that is where United Nations played so many pivotal roles. So many bad decisions have been made in the past, in the lost. I mean, we are sitting in, I mean, 75th year. Okay, we are like almost 75th, 76th year of the independence of this land in some capacity or the other. Then the fight between the wars where, I mean, Pakistan and Bangladesh was part of India. So, so if you look at that, we when we come into the online world and we start the coding process, it becomes very difficult, because I know what happened in Bangladesh few days back is is something that um everybody is sad about. And the point of contention here is, we like it or not, in many ways, people who have traveled and stayed in Bangladesh, in some capacity or the other will understand that what that particular land and the water body surrounding it is capable of. I mean, the water body surrounding Bangladesh is capable of, um, cultivating hilsa fish. Hilsa fish is one variety where you are able to sell a small hilsa fish. If I have to talk about in stable coins, it would be, I'll just do the calculations. Hilsa. So for the time being, I'm taking one USDT as 80. So an average Hilsa fish will cost you around 63 stable coins or 63 USDT. And that is the only area where you get good Hilsa fish. I mean, I have stopped eating fish in last couple of weeks because it is being grown in Haryana and the other places. The taste is so I mean, I don't like the taste because people who are fish eaters will understand, when you are artificially growing something, you will never get the actual taste. So, point of contention again, going back to Bangladesh here is, I've seen that country firsthand after the lockdown. I went there. I visited a lot of places. I even visited, I even visited a small island, which is, I mean, which is next to impossible to go in terms of, I went through a jet and it was a very old tin jet. The water flow was really low that day. So you can understand, because as a country, Bangladesh has been misused by everyone, anyone and everyone, in terms of, uh, I mean, from the protocols of the assemblies of the people, in terms of just use them as a worker. But as such, no development has been done. I was trying to visit places where, all these dresses are stitched or cut, where the cloth is cut. In terms of Mark and Spencer, you will see that, Mark and Spencer and Zara are the two brands which Mark and Spencer. Okay, let's talk about three brands: Mark and Spencer, Zara, and H&M. There's a lot of stuff which is being made in Bangladesh. So when I see made in Bangladesh, I was very keen to visit that place. I tried a lot talking to people to, please take me to these places, because I want to see how these places are being kept in terms of the ILO work. ILO is International Labor Organization, and till date, I think we are not able to do fair justice to the employment sector to the term whereby even the educated sector, whether it's Bangladesh, whether it's India, they're not getting the minimum wages. Till now we are just crippling ourselves with even understanding what the wages has to be. I'll give you one example. I can talk about myself because I come with that experience. I mean, way back, somewhere in the year 2000, I think it was 2014. That document is already submitted in Delhi High Court, because that was one of the cases which was pending at that point of time. And at that point of time, I had received $450 for consultation for 1 hour. So that was 2014. But that kind of consultation I was trying to, achieve way back in the year 2010 also. Anyhow, so 2014, today we are sitting in 2025. So you can understand my hourly quotation has to be of that regard. Till now, best of the people in the industry, in the IPRs, are not able to charge that kind of amount. The answer is not that I belong from the same profession. The answer is because I have worked on so many cases, so many domains over the years. My love with the internet and the data is like absolute. You cannot put a number, because I say a number, people start coding again. So that doesn't solve the purpose. So the point of contention here is, all these UN organizations, they have to, come up with a basic structure. We are trying to do SDGs, but at the same point of time, we are actually traumatizing the intellectual ones. Can you believe, in India right now, because of this app culture, a plumber is able to earn 150 INR, that is like, let's say, two stable coins. a plumber is able to earn two stable coins, and you're giving the same amount to a medical doctor who is giving you online consultation. This is ridiculous. I mean, medical profession is one of the most scientific profession, but yes, they are not technology efficient. But as far as their understanding of medicine goes, that is out of the, out of the normal understanding of people. So that consultation is very less. I mean, this is a mockery of, of the profession on these applications. I'm not naming the applications, but they are coming up with this, get your medical this from a doctor, uh, for stable coin, two stable coins. Can you believe that? And by chance, I was ordering something on this app some days ago, and they said that, you cannot order this particular ointment. You need to have a prescription. I understand that. So they said we will give you a free doctor online. So the person called me, and I was like, even the voice of the person, I mean, I couldn't relate that that person was a medical doctor. To me, that person was somebody who just knew, I mean, just the some part of the protocol of how the medical profession has to work. So the point of contention here is we are at, I'm not even, we are not at step number one. We are negative right now, in terms of, understanding anything and everything. I mean, if a plumber is getting, say for example, no offense, two stable coins, a medical doctor should get at least, I mean, just imagine the kind of, traumatization this profession has in terms of just getting into the medical college. At least 30 stable coins. I'm just giving an example, so this is not a scenario, it is my own experience I'm talking about. Because in this sustainability issue where we are talking about all these generative ais and everything, I understand different people have different understanding of the profession, but there has to be a synchronicity between the professions. Because doctors don't understand tech, because they're not supposed to understand tech, because that is how they have developed their, capabilities of being a medical doctor. They have to go through the phase where, they are doing house job. This word is known as house job, and this house job almost 24 hours, 48 hours, they are just on their toes trying to, understand what's happening with the patient. And it's not that one doctor is working on one patient, it is a group of doctors who work on the patient to save the life. I understand that because of this private college of, the way the private colleges just mushroomed in this country post 1995, it has ruined everything. People like us also, like I come from a medical family background, but I didn't go through the medical process because I didn't want myself to be part of the protocol. But anyhow, the point of contention here is, now AI is becoming plastic. Many ways you will hear this term, and I would be writing a paper on this and would be submitting it to the authorities. But at the same point of time, with the code itself, people are trying to code that, a section of society wants that people should feel the stress. This word stress is being utilized, which is a misused word, a negative connotation. People should feel depressed. Again, it's a negative connotation. These kind of things never existed in the 90s. Now let me tell you, let's talk about India in this sector. I just want to finish it in next couple of minutes so that people can just think over this thought process without seeing anything on the televisions, the Netflix. Just avoid anything and everything so that you can just get into the mindset of understanding what is happening in this world. Because a part of the society, say for example, people who are very famous in the sense, as a kid we thought that, this was the future and this can be the future. If you go through their own medical history in terms of, say for example, I don't want to name anyone, but if you just think like, okay, this person could be a role model. Or for example, I'll give you an example. Say there is a statue of a person in any of these, wax museums. Just see the Indians whose statue is there in the wax museums. You will be able to relate to what I'm trying to uh, tell in terms of being a DAO, a real DAO, because I'm getting a lot of DAO messages where they're saying you are getting these money, USDTs, and all that nonsense. I've already reported that to the authorities, so authorities will look into it. So there are a lot of international forces also who want to take over the United Nations in many capacities. And right now, um, India is not at danger as such, because the Indian ethos is so strong. Maybe on the face of it, we are fighting with each other in many capacities, but at the back end, we all know that um, India as a country has reached that place in terms of using this portal, the kind of talent India has produced. Even if there has been brain drain over the years, it is the Indian origin people who are doing well in other countries, and we should respect that. The only difference is because of the political scenarios, the value of the currency has made us poor as a country, not as individuals. As I said, I was able to charge for $50 per hour in the year 2014, and we are in 2025, and that's why I don't do consultations anymore. So the point of contention is very simple. AI is a myth in terms of AI, which is artificial intelligence, um, because it is not the intelligence of one person solving a same problem, but it is the mind game of individuals who may be malice, we don't know. So what you need to concentrate is on the RI, that is the real intelligence. However, what is important here is when we have AI models which are um, around certain individuals. Say, for example, if you have to give a number, take number 5, number 10, number 3, number 4, because everything is being coded right now just to gain some attention in the blockchain world. Because blockchain is based on trust and so many things. But our understanding of blockchain is different because we don't delegate stuff, we commission. So we work on a commission basis in terms of a very different model, and only few folks in the world has been selected as real blockchainers. And it's not that if like I own a physical bitcoin, that means the person who has given me the physical bitcoin and the others in the group know that when this world is going to just be in this space. And I think we are at that timeline where the real blockchainers have to work towards making this planet at least accessible for the present and the future generations without thinking about what is going to happen. Because in terms of the cryptocurrency and all, this was just take it as a game. I mean, it holds no value, because as I said, if I talk about India before getting independence, all the currencies and everything was the same. It's just that India took loan from the world banks, and that is when we started deteriorating in the currency aspect. I remember in 1980s, late 1980s, $1 was 2020 INR. Then when I started working in intellectual property rights, I think the first check was $500, and that time I think it was 32. I mean, I have worked on the IPR cases where $1 conversion was 32, 35. Then it started increasing. Then Malaysian ringgit also at one point of time was 9, 12. And when we were at the pinnacle in terms of the telecommunication patents I was writing or drafting or the framework, I think it had reached 19 INR. I mean, INR is the Indian currency. So one Malaysian ringgit reached 19 at one point of time. And there's a place in Malaysia called a Cyberjaya, Petaling Jaya, that is called PJ. I mean, I spent most of my formative years of my career in Malaysia. And then obviously I had a company in Singapore, which was, at least I didn't work on in that aspect. I was just a dummy director in that company without even knowing what I'm getting into. So that was a wastage of all the currencies. I mean, it didn't bring any joy to my life in terms of when I was in Singapore. I never understood that why that Singapore currency and everything was working like that. But yes, actual sciences and everything, that was one domain which was working very well. A lot of people from India have been recruited in Singapore for that work itself. So the point is, now we are at a juncture where we need to understand there's something called a surf IP. That is, I'll just write it down again. I don't know now if you have to go on to these LLM models to understand surf IP. Surf IP was a protocol which was developed as a, again, a test case to understand how the intellectual property people, that means actually selected, not somebody who is just browsing on the website to look into the aspects. that how they behave with the data and how they use the data to execute something. And then obviously we became very fast. If somebody has visited Singapore and you come to India, you'll see in India is very slow. And the very good example is the example of escalator. I mean, escalator is so fast in Singapore. India is like so slow. It's like the world has come to a standstill when you're in India. So that is one aspect. And I will drop down the details for tomorrow's event in the comment box. Thank you for hearing out. It's been 30 minutes. I didn't want to do it more than 25, but just realized that we just crossed the 30-minute mark line. We can go on and on. Let me tell you, we have been trying to, go on and on. We can speak at length to discuss tech, and we will do it as and when required. We don't do it when not required. But the understanding here is Meta has to be questioned in terms of they are not the DAOs, and they cannot misuse and tell that, misusing the AI to tell this person needs this, because this whole depression, stress, and related, medicinal stuff is being pushed by one sector of the society, and we need to stop this. There's nothing called as depression or stress. It is just the mindset. Because as lawyers, I remember studying it very clearly in the law, that there's a very thin line or a silver lining between the difference between a sound and unsound mind. And the protocol is very simple: just create fear or the FOMO, and people will be trapped into it. There's nothing more to that. And I had the first experience undergoing all these protocols and understanding what went wrong, why it went wrong. And I remember when the judge at the lower court in Delhi said that he said in Hindi, I'll just complete this and I will end this stream right now. गलत का इतना साथ मत दो कि गलत और गलत करे. That means somebody who's doing wrong, don't support this support, otherwise he will or she will, or the entities behind it will do more wrong. So the point of contention here is they are good people, they are bad people, they are neutral people. But at any given point of time, there's nothing called as stress or depression. It is just a mindset, and this mindset is being pushed by entities, and particularly Indian entities, in terms of people uh, whom we thought are the game changers of our times. They're not game changers. They're just trying to manipulate the human mind because they thought they were in that capacity, because they were acting in that capacity, and that acting has to stop now in the given scheme of things. Thank you for watching out the video. Have a great day ahead.